All right, so we have the community speakers with us tonight. If you would introduce yourself before you speak, so we can know your names. And if you'd like to also let us know which programs you have, we'd appreciate it. But we have 10 minutes total for community presentations or speakers. And if there is longer than 10 minutes going because the board members might have some questions, then we'll double check back with the board about that, okay?
Okay. So, yeah. So I did make a few copies for the board on what I'm getting ready to read. My name is Ralph Crowder. I'm producer of Freedom Radio. And it's good to be here. My understanding is that there's only been one person that's made public delegation in the last 2 years for MTN board meetings. So our presence here has to be, a 300, 400% markup. So that's good participation. So I'll just go ahead and read this, and then if we have any questions or any concerns afterwards, we can deal with that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So this is a letter to Attention Minneapolis Television Network, Board of Directors, CC, MTN, Executive Director, staff members, and the broader community. This is regarding racial discrimination, denied access, and misapplication of policy by MTN executive leadership and select staff. The problems. And once again,
That's okay.
the problems. I write this note of ongoing concern around specific expressed issues of racial discrimination and denied access by the current executive leadership and select staff at MTN. I would like to highlight and reiterate that previous communication by me and Cindy Lewis, who is present here today, via electronic correspondence, post our proposed August 2015 Freedom Radio Black News theme event, have produced an unsafe environment for us to interact as an MTN member or potential community partner. The current atmosphere of false allegations of personal character as a result of us pointing out consistent patterns in misapplication of MTN policy has emerged into an unacceptable reality of blatant targeted racial gender discrimination. We have paid great detail in documenting these experiences and shared some examples to the MTN Executive Director and Board Chair to support our continued claim. The public access and media resource represented by MTN should never be an unsafe environment for any race, gender, or economic disadvantaged resident of the city of Minneapolis. Discretionary support of equal access to public resources is a huge historical and present-day issue within the Black community. I, Cindy Lewis, and others who will soon voice similar observations are not in any way supportive in this direction of MTN leadership. Due to the climate of discrimination, which oftentimes appear to be very personal in delivery, I'm requesting that the MTN Board of Directors ensure my safe use of the public space at MTN Studios by doing the following. Direct the MTN Executive Director and staff to discontinue any personal communication toward me unless it pertains to their specific public role and responsibility as an MTN employee. I'm very uncomfortable about being maliciously misrepresented by select staff. I also fear for my personal safety due to the lack of effective leadership within the present organizational structure. I would like to give an example to the problems. There's a Drinking with Ian event, and it was inside the Access Studio with Michael Phelan, aired live on MTN Friday, May 15, 2015 at 7 p.m. There's a YouTube link for you to actually watch that show. The highlighted event violated MTN programming policies around airtime of adult or explicit content. This, as other exclusively white MTN community engagements, ended around 10 p.m. All these after-hour programs are stated by design of the executive leadership to appeal toward new audiences. The Drinking with Ian event featured 5 white males having a good time, drinking beer and alcohol on air with an all-white studio audience. MTN Executive Director Michael Phelan played host of the program, which included 6 MTN staff and 4 MTN volunteers and interns. Inappropriate language such as black pussy, dick, and references to dog porn were used. The show's very few prominent images of a black woman were displayed being beaten with a whip. some would say sexually violated, by the MTN highlighted show producer of the evening. And here goes the picture of that image that I'm referring to. So we have issues of racial discrimination. In bold contrast to the identified organizational success of this Drinking with Ian event, two black people, one who is a long-standing member of MTN, which would be me, proposed a program planned around the 2015 National Association of Black Journalists convention held in the Twin Cities during the month of August. All activities surrounding that proposed event were met with overwhelming resistance and multiple barriers. The Freedom Radio Black News theme program was undermined by MTN executive leadership and select staff. The event planning was delayed and pushed back for a period of nearly 10 weeks. The executive director made claims that we were threatening and difficult to work with, an obvious insult to our demonstrated work, professionalism, and personal character. These are three examples of events that we've done. One at the University of Maryland, College Park, another one at the American Psychological Association National Conference, 2015 conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other one at the University of Minnesota. The slanderous claims made were further complicated because, according to the executive director, they were based on third-party conversation told him by the MTN community event staff coordinator. We met only twice with the MTN coordinator and was informed about the stated accusations only after Michael Phelan became involved in our planning. The MTN coordinator who made these remarks suddenly became physically absent at any of our follow-up meetings to clarify our concerns with the MTN executive director and board chair. Somehow, my years of consistent volunteer service and contributions helping other members and MTN staff have been overlooked. Everything around our process to have the same equal access to MTN studio space as our white counterparts began to take an overt racial tone of blatant unequal treatment. So now we're going to talk about denied access and misapplication of policy. The MTN executive director granted equal access to studio space for our Black News themed event only after we reached out to the MTN board chair for broader organizational involvement toward the issues. After board discussion regarding the event, the MTN executive director then scheduled it on a Friday, similar to the Drinking with Ian and other events that have ended at 10 p.m. But there was a clear difference in the start and end times. Our event was to start at 5 p.m., not convenient for those who work, and end much earlier at 8 p.m. We were concerned and more alarmed when he stated that, referring to Mr. Phelan, it is customary for MTN to close at 7 p.m. on Friday, and the schedule is designed to be as fair as possible to staff members who are used to being home early on this day. Right underneath that, I have a flyer for a Friday event that ended at 10 o'clock, and like most other events have ended here at 10 o'clock. With our proposed event, and then also another picture of that particular event, which is basically what MTN events, public events have looked like, is basically being all white. With our proposed event, there was also a sudden additional emphasis on the MTN executive director that he made about being short-staffed and having limited resources. All other of the planned events had no issues with appropriate staff or support. Unlike any other community engagement held at MTN Studios, we were assigned an agenda. The agenda was outlined by Michael Phelan and detailed a specific schedule of his selected choice of our produced content. Non-compliance with all these terms and arrangements, including having an outside host, and there wasn't even an identified option to have Michael Phelan as the executive director host our event. There wasn't no option for that. So all those things were stated as cause to cancel and terminate our event. As a result of these barriers and many others, we decided not to work with Mr. Phelan's unequal supervision of access inside MTN's public space. Drinking with Ian and other exclusive white community engagement events appeared to be the model of success in MTN applied policy. The impact on black membership and broader community when you have those things in place. The message sent in this experience was MTN executive leadership and select staff can use their high patronage of paid Black membership money with additional public and private funding to advance separate and very unequal community experiences. We were denied our right to have equal opportunity, resources, and access at MTN's public space. Was this done as a personal racial bias toward Ralph and Cindy? Or is it a part of a broader issue that has begun to surface based on MTN looking toward building relationships with the same new audiences? Since its inception, there have been minimal, if any, Black engagement activities at MTN. The outreach to new audiences via MTN community engagement has always excluded the voice or experience of Black members, producers, or broader community. The priority to highlight some and deny others has been institutionalized. It is so much of a cultural norm that if you dare to challenge it, MTN select staff or executive leadership will call you a threat or hard to work with. It's highly insensitive for an organization to support such a state of social denial. MTN invites you to have a drink of beer, shots of alcohol, talk about Black pussy and dog porn, while we feature one of our favorite white community producers whipping a Black woman as a sexual object on a stage full of white audience members drinking within. All this and more hosted by the MTN Executive Director Michael Phelan at dinner time, live on television at 7 p.m. No equal opportunity for Black membership and others? Is the focus on current national issues of social injustice and the importance of independent Black media too uncomfortable for MTN's new audiences? What are the current values exhibited by the MTN executive leadership and select staff? The behavior on this example alone, and there are plenty more to come, has to be looked at as a liability to MTN's public image and organizational growth in all communities of color. Potential first step solutions with MTN board. In consideration of a recent 7/28/15 meeting with the MTN board chair and vice board chair, we would like to make a final good faith attempt to help facilitate the stated commitment of MTN's mission of service for all communities. It is our thought and agreed on by the MTN board executive leadership that all Minneapolis residents deserve better representation in their public access experiences. In our meeting with the MTN board reps, they also encouraged us to work beyond our understood disappointment. They were curious of ways to create collaborative ideas for the MTN board to make our event and other issues of concern an opportunity for progress in Black membership / community relationships. Having time to reflect and focus on the discussion points of that meeting, we took action to form a small committee familiar with multiple MTN experiences. This volunteer advocacy committee is made up of MTN members, independent producers of programming, creative artists, and community professionals. The purpose of our organizing efforts is to mobilize stakeholder input toward MTN-related issues. We take the MTN board leadership's role to provide oversight and direction to its stated organization mission for all very serious. We are proposing with board support that our committee take an immediate active role in designing new effective ways toward MTN's member and organizational engagement / outreach to the Black community. These are the things that we requested in our potential first step solutions. So similar format as the very public role represented MTN in public access in the Drinking Within event. We are making the same request to the Executive Director, Michael Phelan, to host our planned event theme, Black News at the Crossroads, an evening with Freedom Radio, featuring a film screening and conversation with Ralph L. Crowder III, producer of the documentary film, Hands Up, Don't Shoot Our Youth Movement, on a date to be determined on an upcoming Friday in late September from 6 to 10 p.m. As a prerequisite to this event, we are requesting a one-time, 1-hour meeting with the MTN Executive Director and MTN Board Chair for any details concerning event planning or additional needs. We are requesting our volunteer committee, utilizing the supportive resources of MTN and select technical staff, curate and design a series of monthly community engagement events targeted toward Black community participation at MTN Studios. We are requesting that there be immediate mandatory cultural sensitivity training for MTN Board of Directors, executive leadership, staff, volunteers, and members. The training should be holistic and inclusive to all who interact with MTN, with an emphasis on evaluating current MTN staff's ability to provide public service to communities of color. The MTN executive director and staff should reflect the organizational values and mission of MTN. As a prerequisite to this recommended training, our volunteer committee should help the MTN board select potential candidates that provide professional and cultural expertise around these issues. We are requesting more African American representation in all areas of current MTN paid staffing and board leadership, including but not limited to youth programming instructors and teachers of MTN classes. We are requesting that our volunteer committee host a bi-monthly cultural specific support group meeting with the MTN executive director and a member of the MTN board. This group will function as a needed communication liaison for the MTN Black membership base and other potential community partners. It will allow voices of support or concern for MTN executive leadership and allow any updates on current MTN programming or board initiatives. We are requesting that MTN board members / meetings be open and accessible and transparent to all communities. There was not a posting today in the studio for this board meeting, and I think we addressed that. Regardless of social economic status, it's very important that you post these notices because some people can't get online all the time. MTN board members should all have a publicly listed MTN email address and phone number. The MTN monthly board meeting should be video recorded and aired on the MTN website for organizational accountability to its stated mission of public service. In closing, it is my hope that the unheard, unseen, undervalued members of the MTN creative community will soon be viewed on and off screen as equal voices and contributing assets of this organization's growth and development. The idea of public access to resources and opportunities is an expected norm for some. It allows personal or organizational growth where selected communities are created based on common interests. I support anyone's right for self-expression in the space of that equally shared access. The problems of why, how, and who don't receive equal opportunity and access to public resources at MTN are usually identified in selected ideas of subject matter in MTN programming. 2 Black people were denied equal access for an event highlighting the ongoing assault of Black humanity and the importance of independent news outlets documenting our shared stories and experiences. The full access of MTN's organizational support was given to 4 white guys drinking alcohol and having a great time with the executive director reflecting on their successful journey of produced material. The perks of MTN memberships are clearly gateways into 2 separate worlds. One world is embraced as an all-white family-like network of peers celebrating each other's creative space within the artistic landscape of Minneapolis. The other is a silent stream of survival shot down at MTN before it has a chance to breathe life or complete its assigned journey for public or organizational support. And here goes a flyer that many in the Black community would consider a very racist cartoon character that was hanging in the MTN offices just recently. So that bears witness to the climate that we're talking about. I and many others look forward to hearing your feedback. The next steps could be a wall poster we could design and celebrate together. The possibility to display our collective will to address needed change in culture at MTN is here and now. It is a valued and important resource for community-produced media. Peace and blessings to all. Ralph L. Crowder III, producer of Freedom Radio. And then also, just for clarification on these issues, I included, because we did notice that after we started raising these issues, based on, these are 4 examples of MTN public, or so-called public events. They all ended around 10 o'clock. They were all exclusively, basically, white events with white attendance. And there was no, as you have recruited VJ from Mad Dads recently, I see, there was no a public event collaboration stamp by MTN noted on any of these previous events, which is very interesting. And this is also the flyer that was passed out and circulated, or posted and circulated at MTN Studios. And it's really interesting because it addressed specifically that MTN would like to invite producers. And that's posted here in the studio, so producers are obviously members to do live public events. Now, after we raised this issue, that flyer was immediately taken down from MTN office space or workspace, and there was a new definition of what this particular MTN public events program was. And it's very interesting because I don't know if a lawyer worked on this or not, but I'm very careful to identify wording. But in this language, dated August 10th, 2015, and the subject was the purpose and function of MTN's public events program, it was stated that the events are meant to expand our reach and promote our services, and they are produced under specific guidelines, which were not publicly posted at all, in conjunction with partners who wish to collaborate on an event. Now, the emphasis in conjunction with partners is really another interesting term, because that flyer clearly pointed out producers. So there was definitely a revision of whatever this public event program at MTN was intended to be after we raised these issues. I won't bore you with any more details on that. I will just say that we've documented this very well. I'm very experienced with dealing with these issues in the public setting, and I am not a single voice at all. And there will be more issues that are going to come to make you more aware of what's really happening. And it's our intention that, like I said, we are all valued equally. The discretionary use of policy or application of policy has to stop, and our voice is here to be respected.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr. I appreciate your presentation.